Welcome in UFC 314. And if you haven't seen us for a while, it's my bad. Hand up accountability. Started coaching baseball, and the days have been long, the nights have been longer, and the mornings have been early. We just haven't had time. And honestly, haven't had a card in a couple of weeks that really warranted maneuvering the schedule around. But when Alexander the Great graces us in the octagon against Diego Justin Bieber Lopez, we got to take time to break this card down. And as Joe and I were saying pre-video, it's a very interesting card. It's going to be a fun breakdown. So crack a beer, grab a drink, do whatever tickles your taint here. It's going to be a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think this card, I feel like the MMA community, they're going to get some 8, 9, and 0s out there, and you're going to get some 0 and 8s, 0 and 9s out there. There's a lot. I have a feeling there's a lot of prop betting going to be happening on this card between you and I. That always worries me, but also there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to that. So it's a very high risk, high reward betting card.
I got a feeling we only agree on 3 fights.
Yeah, I think we're going to disagree a lot.
We're going to disagree a lot. Kicking us off, you're chomping at the bit here. You're gnawing on the knob to get us started for Nora Cornoli. I think that's how Indiana pronounces bags, Cornoli, at a minus 175 against Haley Cowan at a plus 145.
Hands down the worst fight of the card, but I like my notes. So Cornoli, she's a decent striker, but not good grappler, but can do reversals. She's slow, bad, not impressed. Cohen, 2-time All-American gymnast, decent with the hands, extremely strong. That's the positives. Here's the big negatives. She's horrible on her back. She's like a rich woman or a turtle. Once you get them on the back, they're going to stay there for a while. And I cannot stand her attitude. She is the worst attitude of Dana White Contender Series. She acted like her shit didn't stink talking to Dana White, thinking that she deserves a contract when she fought like absolute shit. If you ever watch NCIS, that's what it felt like. It felt like when people would disrespect the main character, Gibbs being Dana White. I hated the entitled bitchiness that came from her. I hated it. With that said, I think there's good value on her. She is athletic, she is strong, and she is going to be the more explosive fighter. It's probably a Cohen by decision play to up the odds. She's not good enough to get a finish. Cornali, yeah, she has reversals, but she's not a good grappler in her own right. I think Cohen's going to be able to just push her against the cage, get a grind them out decision win. I like the underdog by decision, but I am really rooting against her because she's 7-3, but she acts like she's just the next coming to Macy Barber. Pump the brakes here. Let's actually get some wins on the docket, but I think it's a good fight to get a win.
Completely agree with you 100%. I think old Cornhole lives on physicality, and she doesn't have the physicality advantage in this fight. Neither girl is any good. One's 35, one's 33. Together, they have 20 combined total fights. They are not experienced or talented. Unless you're a degenerate, which I am, I would not recommend betting a fight where you have such limited information with such low skill. It's not an intelligent bet. That being said, I'm on Cowan here. I like her in the clinch a little bit more than Cornoli, and I expect this fight to primarily be in the clinch. At range, I think that Cowan's going to be slightly faster and slightly more versatile. Not saying she's versatile or fast, just that Cornoli's a little bit slow. And I like the girl who's going to be stronger in a shitty fight, and I like dog money. So I will be taking Cowan definitely by decision. See if I can get better than 2-1 on my money on that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going. That's what I'm trying to find out right now. She's what, a plus 140,
150 on FanDuel.
It'd be nice to get 2-1 out. It's odd that you and I agree on this one of all fights, but I think 2-1's a smart bet for a really low level fight.
Yeah, and I'll say that on what is that, bet whatever the Bet Rivers or the Bovada, whatever the non-domestic book is, it's 240. So we'll probably get about 2-1. We'll probably get about 2-1 here. All right, we'll throw a little something on beefsteak there. Cowan, that was a cow pun. Cowan by decision to kick us off a little bit.
I like it.
I like that. I'm happy with that 1 for 2 because I'm not. It's pay-per-view week. I'm not doing any half-unit bullshit unless we got a real big number. Exactly. All right, next fight. Man, this guy could have been good, and I don't know why the hell he's in the UFC, but we used to say the same thing about Chase Hooper, who's fighting later. Why is this kid in the UFC? Trey Gore, he's got some of the gifts of Manel Cape, namely, he's probably fast. And that's kind of what the UFC thought he were getting when he came off the Ultimate Fighter, this athletic, snappy kickboxer. Dude can't wrestle, and then later found out dude can't kickbox. That's a big problem when you're fighting in a sport that relies heavily on kickboxing and wrestling. Trey Gore's a plus 275 against Marco Tilio, about a minus 350-ish. Minus 400 in some books now.
I couldn't believe Tresean Gore. Am I reading this right? Is he 2-0 in his last 2 fights?
I think so. He's been wrestling more.
It's been getting a fluke submission each of the 2 fights.
Well, someone fell into a guillotine, and then I think there's some sloppy scrambles.
Yeah, sloppy scrambles. That's a hangover breakfast.
Yes, it is.
This fight, I mean, you really touched on Gore already. Tololo, wherever the frick his name, he's a definition of mid. Both notes I have for him, I'm like, literally, the first one, he's fine, and then the other one is he did well and over like striking and grappling, but I'm bored. He's just the definition of blech. I'm looking at the odds right now. I love over 1.5 at minus 130. Are you kidding me? I feel like I'm missing something. Is it because Gore has had 2 first-round finishes? Like I'm really baffled. I like fight goes to decision at plus 230. Are you kidding me? I like a double dip, a double dipper on this fight. Neither one of these guys get me up in the morning. I mean, if you know what I mean. So I really like I like fight goes decision at over 2-1 your money.
We said in the video that we're going to disagree, but apparently we're 2 for fucking 2, 3 for 3 on this one here. Look, Trey Gore has been doing the, I just had the guy's name, came in as a kickboxer, realized he sucked and started to poorly wrestle a little bit. Yeah. But anyways, that's Trey Gore. And outside of his limited offense for Trey Gore, no power, and his defense is fine. The one thing he does have is some decent movement, some decent defensive awareness. And Tulio, I think it's Tulio, he's got 9 knockouts, but he doesn't push a pace like you'd want for a guy to come in there. He's not, who's the fighting nerds, Conor McGregor?
Oh my God, Ruffy.
I think it's actually Roofy, like the drug. Roofy has this reputation of come in and just Gene Silva motherfuckers, and Roofy takes a little bit more time. Tulio is a lot more like Roofy. He's willing to play a little bit with his food, and Trey Gore ain't going to bring the heat either. I loved over 1.5. I was talking multi-units on that, but I actually like your play better. Over 1.5 for a unit, and fight goes the distance for a unit. See if we can get 3 back on our 1 here. I like that a ton. Yeah. That's a clever way to play it. Bottom line, slow, methodical, lower level kickboxing match with some wrestling mixed in. All right, a fight that I do not expect to be slow, a fight that I do not expect to be boring. We got Sumudaerji at a minus 205, the guy who cannot do anything but get triangled. Matt Schnell Sumudaerji was one hell of a fight against Mitch Rapazzo, who kind of like Ricky Terrizos, his primary mode of attack is to attack. There's not a whole lot of thought behind it. There's not a whole lot of strategy. It's kind of like someone winds up a Beyblade and just lets him go. That's kind of how Mitch Rapazzo fights, and it's going to be fun in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch Rapazzo was I think he was the first overall pick in the Ultimate Fighter on the Volk season, the Volk Ortega season. Morphed into Brother Civil War. I don't know how in the world you like Brian Ortega after watching that nonsense, but
I didn't watch it.
But Rapazzo was the first overall pick for a reason. He looks good in the gym. He's fast. He can strike. He has really nice combinations, and he has wrestling. And I don't think that wrestling's super effective going against well-rounded flyweights. Sumudaerji's not well-rounded flyweight. He's a sniper-like end-of-punch striker. I think Rapazzo, if he has intelligence, he'll elect to go the grappling route. But a lot of times when I watch him fight, he's not a very intelligent fighter in the octagon. That's not to say that he doesn't know what to do as a fighter, but he has a lot of skills in his tool chest. He just doesn't seem to know when to use them effectively. And I think that you see that baked into the odds here. Sumudaerji was a top 10-ish flyweight. He has really good power. I'm seeing odds on Sumudaerji by KO at plus 325. That's the route that I'm going. I was going to go the Rapazzo route just because if he does elect the wrestling, I can see a victory by decision. But Sumaderji over 3-1 your money. If Raposo does elect to stand and strike with Maderji's got the significant power advantage, and I think he can keep Raposo at bay with distance. Maderji's really long, really tall, and I think Raposo will, like that one blade toy, is going to rush in, and Maderji has his sniper-like ability to land one on the chin and get it done. 3-1 your money, it's not bad.
I like it. The odds surprised me. When you were talking Sumaderji KO, I thought we were going to be closer to 2-1 than 3-1. I'm on the
that is bet online. Just
okay, but still, it's not going to drop $1. I was on Raposo until you brought those odds up because I do think Maderji needs a range striking match to be really effective. He can be effective in tight in the pocket, a little bit in the clinch, but when he's pressured, when he's put on his back foot outside of his pull counters, Maderji doesn't bring a whole lot to the octagon. I think Raposo can Clay Guida his ass into a win here, but he's going to have to eat a lot of damage in order to be able to do it. And Maderji's not a guy you want to eat a lot of right hands from. So I think this is really a bet on Raposo's cardio and chin. If his cardio and chin hold up, which cardio should, I think he can win a grindy decision. I think, though, if someone's getting finished, it's going to be Maderji. Also, the odds are going toward Raposo. He opened plus 170, he's plus 150 right now, so the money's coming in on him a little bit. I think the number was a little bit wide to start. Anything less than plus 150 on Raposo is not worth it for me. I'll pass on the fight. But if you can get 150 or better, I got him at 180. I'll take Raposo because our bookie gave us a slightly better number than he should have. I'll take Raposo there for a shot because it's good value on a realistic method of victory. South of 150 is a pass for me.
Yeah, I don't fault. That's the avenue I was going to go as well when the odds were plus 180. But looking at the odds now, if you're getting 3-1 your money on KO, I can't ignore that. But if you are getting plus 180 on Raposo, I can see that as well. I think those are the two avenues to attack the fight.
Yep. All right, next fight. It's going to be fun. We got Michael Oleksiejczuk, who we all have to take a minute here and realize he's not the Michael Oleksiejczuk of 2021. Because that guy, he found a rhythm, or 2022, whatever it was. Recently, he sputtered a little bit. Well, one of my favorites, because I get to bring up Shawshank every single time. Who wrote that? I don't know, Alfred Dumbass. It's pronounced Dumas. Well, Sequarius Dumas is fighting here against Michael Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk is a minus 200, and Dumas at a plus 165.
I mean, Oleksiejczuk cannot have been a favorite in the last 8 of his last fights. I mean, I got to think that he hasn't been a favorite in a long time. You sort of gave it away. I think Oleksiejczuk's really found a new form of late. It's more than just a left kick, left hand. He's putting a little bit of a pace and pressure on these guys. And Dumas, I don't think he knows how to quite fight in the UFC. I don't think I think he's not in a great camp in Colorado. I don't love the camp to begin with. But I think he's fallen victim into almost that Mackenzie Dern-esque type where he has such a massive weakness when he first came into fighting where he couldn't wrestle. Now he's worked so hard on his wrestling game where now he's trying to wrestle and getting away from what he does well, which is end of punch power like Kevin Holland. He should be doing the Kevin Holland sort of formula, albeit it's clearly flawed. But Kevin Holland has a lot of fights and a lot of success and a lot of money. That's what Dumas should be doing. He's not. In this fight, I don't see where Dumas is better than Oleksiejczuk. I really don't. I think Oleksiejczuk looked incredibly good in his last fight against the Pirate. And at 2-1 your money at minus 200, I don't mind him in a parlay. And if it falls to a minus 180, I play it straight.
That's exactly where I'm going. There's a lot of agreement early on. Don't worry, the disagreement will be coming. It's going to be coming. I just checked. You're right. He was plus 250 against Sharabutin, and he had a good showing. He was plus 220 against Kevin Holland, and he was plus $125 against Michel Pereira, and we went huge on Michel Pereira there. That was before people realized just how much of a beast this man is in his new weight division. But I went back. Michael Oleksiejczuk, I'm not a trend guy. He has not lost as a favorite since 2019. He has only lost as an underdog, and he's fought several times since 2019 here. I'm looking at, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 times since 2019. Every time he's been a favorite, he's won. So that's pretty significant. The guy tends to perform when he's supposed to perform. He tends to lose when he's not supposed to win. I really like Olin Jacek here. He's a big cog in my parlay. I like him with two different guys coming up later. But if you're not a parlay better, minus 200 is not a scary number to lay. That is absolutely something that you can play. I'm comfortable getting up to 3 risk units on Olin Jacek here. I really like him. The only concern I have is that if he does something goofy, he might fall into a goofy submission. He hasn't done that in a long time. That kind of used to be his thing. Overswing, slip on a banana peel kind of a fight. He hasn't been that guy for a while. It's just always in the back of my mind with Olin Jacek because he's been around for so long.
Yeah, I like
All
it.
right, next fight. So I'll tell you the parlay piece later. Juicy J is gracing the octagon. Julian Erosa at a minus 325 against the Damage, or the Damage, if you want to keep with the Dumas trend going here. Darren Elkins at a plus 260.
I mean, I will say they fight differently. For some reason, I just see these two as very similar guys. I really don't know why. The Damage finds ways to win when he's not supposed to. But man, Julian Erosa is a sneaky SOB if there's ever been one. The dude is I'm looking at his record, 30-11, 41 professional fights, and the man's good. I mean, he is slick on the mat. He's not bad on the feet. And he's got a win against Akeem Dawodu, and not. I mean, it's going on 3 years now, but it's not that long ago. I gotta think it's either a Erosa on a parlay or a Erosa by submission. I just don't see a way that Darren Elkins gets it done. But then again, a lot of times when he fights, I don't see a way that he gets it done. And somehow, some way, he sees a shield of blood and goes and finds ways to win. I don't understand. If I could bet, I'd lay a minus 10,000 he's going to bleed. He's going to bleed before he walks in the octagon.
So
I'm curious where you're going because I feel like it's an Erosa parlay, but man, part of me is like, damn, that's kind of expensive.
So this is a really easy thing to say. You're going to hear this everywhere. It's a bad stylistic matchup for Elkins. Elkins needs to wrestle. Erosa's got one hell of a guillotine, and he can take the back too from the clinch. Bad recipe for Elkins. Erosa's got good up the middle strikes, uppercut, knees, front kicks, and Elkins shoots like it's 1987. I'm going to shoot a takedown, and he'll go. And Elkins bleeds like a motherfucker. So the Damage is not going to be in Elkins' favor. And lastly, Elkins has nothing on the feet for Erosa. What people are not talking enough about, this is a bad stylistic matchup for Erosa for a few reasons. Number one, Erosa's cardio is very inconsistent. Sometimes him and Charles Jourdain go 15 minutes and you're like, holy hell, that threw 170 strikes. It was fucking amazing. Other times this guy's sucking wind after 2 minutes of grappling. He's a very inconsistent and unreliable fighter from a cardio standpoint. Number two, Erosa doesn't typically initiate his own offense. His striking is very counter. His submission game is very counter. So the coming forward Elkins works in Erosa's favor. But if he's not on, if he doesn't do it correctly, he can be controlled. If I told you Erosa was Brazilian fighting an older wrestler, there's a little bit of concern that he's going to play from his back for a little bit too long. And lastly, for how good Erosa is, he is 8-7 in the UFC. He tends to lose fights he shouldn't lose, and Elkins tends to win fights he shouldn't win. So I think this fight is very simply closer than the odds suggest. Erosa's favored. Erosa's better than him. I wouldn't mind even minus 250. But minus 325 and growing to me is too big, and it's worth a dog shot on Darren Elkins, probably by decision, but you're already getting 2-1 on your money, so I'm not going to play with the prop. I'm not advising that because it's what Elkins needs to do is to wrestle flawlessly for 15 minutes, and Erosa has to have poor cardio or allow it to happen. There's a lot of steps to get to that win, but 260, personally, I'm going to throw a little bit on Darren Elkins, just respecting the value of the line.
Yeah, and you make a great argument to almost like someone that's super overzealous on Erosa to maybe have a more cautionary tale and pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not sold on the value I'm getting on Darren Elkins. I kind of agree with you where Erosa, it'd feel a lot nicer if that was like a $250, $260 price and not over $3. But I don't feel like I'm getting significant value at 2.5 to ride with Elkins. So with your take on it, I'm okay passing on the official slip. I'm going to have a hard time passing on putting a Erosa with Olin Jacek. They're back to back on the card. You get that immediate gratification of your money. That's probably why I'm personally going to do it, which is not a smart thing to do whatsoever when it comes to gambling. But that's probably how I'm playing it. But I think you did a good job of pushing a cautionary tale. You didn't convince me enough to actually lay or put money on Elkins.
Sure enough. Speaking of immediate gratification, we got immediate disappointment. The women watching this video, maybe the men, maybe the overly horned up grizzly bears. Joe is officially off the market. Pop the question since our last video. So, women of PTL, I'm sorry. Men of PTL, I'm sorry. Horny polar bears. I figure that's your spirit animal. I'm sorry. But congratulations to Joe.
Right.
Immediate dissatisfaction. That's a word. I teach English. Fuck you. For anyone watching the video.
I don't think there's any dissatisfied people out there.
Oh, yeah. There's at least 20 dissatisfied people.
Well, let me say, if I was on the market, I would be dissatisfying people. That's true.
That's very true. All right. So, our next fight, we have shout out the Punch List MMA. This is your favorite fighter of all time. This is your favorite nickname of all time. Jimmy A10 Miller coming in at a plus 565 against the Chia Pet of all Chia Pets, King Chia. That'd be a good nickname for Chase Hooper's King Chia at a minus 850. 850 on the kid, Chase Hooper.
I could not believe the odds. I'm still baffled. I will say, hand up accountability. You did one earlier, I'll do one now. Boy, was I wrong on Chase Hooper. Give me a little credit. The man was a child when he fought. Now he has become a man. I mean, I think he was at 145. He did what I advise, or not that I advise fighters, but I think I should be advising fighters. Move up in weight, build the muscle, build out the frame. If you're a tweener or if you're cutting too much weight, grow into your body and build it out. That's exactly what Chase Hooper has done. And it's paid dividend. I mean, he has looked sensational in his last few fights. Now, he hasn't really fought anyone that I'm like, oh, wow, that's good. I mean, Clint Guida, I'm not going to, I don't want to, say that he's shit. The dude has had, 50 fights?
UFC legend.
Yeah, UFC legend. But he hasn't fought someone like a Jim Miller in the grappling department. Clay Guida is more of a wrestler, but he falls victim to stupidity. Jim Miller is an elite grappler, but he also is super, super old. I do think Chase Hooper will get this thing done. He's taller. He's more in his prime. He's extremely slick on the mat. I mean, he's really good. But you can't lay this number. It's really a dog or pass, and it's a pass because I do think Hooper's going to win.
Yeah, Miller and Hooper, oddly enough, this is grandpa and grandson fighting. They fight very similarly, prime for prime.
Yeah.
Good boxing, for the most part, good chins. Hooper's been rocked before. Jim Miller's fought everyone in the world, so of course he's been rocked before. But their bread and butter is their grappling. And their wrestling isn't traditional. I wouldn't even call it Dagestani. It's kind of unique to their own. It's Michael Chiesa style of it's grappling, and wrestling is kind of the byproduct of it, and it's very effective to get finishes. That being said, I love over 1.5 at minus 150. I really do not think that Chase Hooper is going to walk through Jim Miller. I think Miller's got too much experience, and their styles are too similar for Chase Hooper. And he's got 3 finishes in a row for Chase Hooper to just implement his game plan. I think Hooper's going to have a little bit of adversity here. He's going to have to overcome a little bit. Even if he doesn't get touched or tagged, he's not going to just get what he wants against someone with Jim Miller's pedigree and experience. So I like laying the minus 150 on over 1.5.
Feels a little pricey.
Yeah.
Else. I would say if you're going to lay the 1.5 at minus 150, I'd rather do a round 2 starts at a steeper price and put it with something else. Just feels a little less risky. You're paying probably 70, 80 cents more on the dollar. But laying minus 150 feels a little pricey on that. So I'd say round 2 doesn't start. I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, typically we try to avoid minus numbers on props.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good rule of thumb because you're limiting your outs and then you're also taking juice. So just kind of a good rule of thumb. If you're playing a prop, unless it's Francis Ngannou versus, I don't know who the fuck, Stefan Struve, and you want a minus 200 on as a Stefan Struve shout out, and you want a minus 200 on knockout, it's not a smart play to lay money on a prop. So I'm with you on that. I'll probably pass. Well, personally, I'm going to play over 1.5 because, again, I play everything. But for you, the 27 of you who, well, probably 25 after they found out you're engaged, 2 left. They're like, I can't watch Joe's engaged. Fuck that. I'm leaving. I would not recommend it. All right. So it's going to be maybe a prop play on the rounds. Otherwise, it's a pass. Let's see what let's see what Hoops has. She's back.
I know.
She's back.
I didn't even realize it until today. I'll be honest with you.
I am so excited. Lou, where you at, Lou? All right, Verna Jandiroba. Where's she looking? I don't know. Minus 150. Yan Jianyan at a plus 150. I'm so excited that Verna Jandiroba's fighting. I can't even read fucking numbers. I can't see either. My eyes are all over the place, just like hers. Jandiroba's a minus 150. Yan Jianyan is a plus 130. Look, knee pads, the hair, the jungle music. How do you not love Verna Jandiroba? And she's been on a heater for the last couple of years.
I mean, this she's probably cracked the top 5 favorite fighters for both. She's awesome. I mean, she's also developed for being a little older. She's developed really well in the UFC. She's learned what has worked for her, and really learning how to get in close, get a hold of you, and then wrestle. And even if she can't wrestle effectively, like she get a loop against Loopy, she'll just keep at it. She'll just keep grinding you down. In a 3-fight fight against Yan Jianyan, I love Big Lou. I love Verna Jandiroba. Yan Jianyan, she's extremely inconsistent. I think she's, for being older and fighting against, I think it was for the belt against Weili Zhang in China. You'd think that you kind of would know who you are as a fighter. When I watch her fight, I feel like she doesn't quite know what she's trying to do. She has good striking and she can offensively wrestle, but I really think she still has flaws. And I think Verna Jandiroba should be able to wrestle her. I mean, quite simply, I think Jandiroba is going to be able to get Yan Jianyan on the mat and get another decision win. Jandiroba, I'm leaning by decision to negate laying any sort of juice, but part of me is like, if it's only a 30-cent difference, I might as well just pay the additional 30 cents. But how can you not like Jandiroba in this fight?
I'll tell you why, because I love Yan Jianyan. I absolutely love her here. And I had to give Big Lou her love and her shout out. By the way, if you don't know, our Uncle Lou, who's got biceps that could knock somebody out, he's got the same hair as Verna Jandiroba. They're fucking hair twins. That's why we call Verna Big Lou, because he looks like our Uncle Lou. I love Yan Jianyan here. I think this is going to look a lot like Rose versus Tracy Cortez. I think what we're going to see here, Wei Li was able to wrestle Yan Jianyan, but it was after Yan Jianyan had immense success in rounds 1 and 2 on the feet. Yan Jianyan was too fast and too dynamic for the 3rd greatest women's fighter of all time. Of all time, Wei Li. It's Amanda, it's Valentina, and it's Wei Li. Yan Jianyan was able to really pick her apart on the feet. And for as much as I love Jandiroba, she's awkward and slow and hittable on the feet. So I don't think that Yan Jianyan is going to have any problems finding her early in the fight. Secondly, Wei Li's wrestling is further and stronger and faster and better than Jandiroba. And Wei Li, once she got her down, was able to hold Yan Jianyan down, wasn't able to get it down as effectively as I expected her to be able to. It took a lot of effort, a lot of persistence, and a lot of athleticism that I don't think Jandiroba has. So my handicap on this is I don't think Jandiroba is going to be able to offensively wrestle effectively enough to win this fight. I think this fight's going to spend more time on the feet than the Jandiroba backers are anticipating. And every second it spends on the feet, the worse it is for Verna. If the odds were flipped, I could be talked into taking the wrestler. But I think Yan Jianyan can keep this standing enough to win a very close decision. I would not be surprised if this fight goes to a split. Wrestler, grappler versus a striker. Those tend to be your split decisions anyways. Speed, dynamicism, and I think a surprisingly stout takedown defense from Yan Jianyan is going to get her a 29-28 nod. I like her. I played her whatever it took because I got her at a bigger plus number earlier in the week. I laid over 2 to get to 3. I put 2+ on her to get to 3 units. I love her this week.
Big mistake. Let me get back in here for crying out loud. Tag me and get that WWE nonsense. Let me get tagged back in.
Take a breath. Take a breath. You got to
Janjan,
compose yourself.
long time ago, 4 years ago, obviously her grappling has really grown. When she fought the Cookie Monster, she got almost killed in the grappling department. Janjan has greatly grown in that department. But in 2021 almost got killed by her. 2022, Mackenzie Dern did get her down. Mackenzie Dern's nowhere near the wrestler of John Joba. In 2024, Weili Zhang, I thought she wrestled a lot easier than what you're giving her credit for. And Tabitha Ricci is way more traditional. And this is where John Joba is. Have you ever watched college wrestling? You got the traditionals, and then you got the funk. Patented by Ben Askren. You got the funk. And Jan Joba's got that funk about her. Dean Hamidi, 174. Levi Haynes of Penn State didn't win it. Keegan O'Toole didn't win it. It was the funk of Dean Hamidi that won the national championship. Shout out Jimbo. It's the funk of Jan Joba. Yan Jinan is not going to understand what Jan Joba is doing because Jan Joba is looking from all different angles. You don't know where she's coming from. And same thing with on the feet. You don't know. It's such an awkward, funky, clunky, so non-traditional style where Yan Jinan is not going to be prepared enough of. She's going to be like, what the fuck is going on with this nonsense? And she's going to get taken down. And John Joba is going to get this thing done. I have seen John Joba fight people similar to that of Yan Jinan and be like, man, I think it's going to be enough. I think the speed of her opponent's going to get her. I think the takedown defense of her opponent's going to get her. And guess what? John Joba just funky gets in there and wrestles and gets the thing done. I hate the bet by you. It's either, you can even pass if you want. If you don't want to lay it, but don't go against John Joba. That's a big mistake.
Multiple units on Yan. Multiple units. And I'm not being a jackass. I bet this 2 days ago. I got her like plus 160 or whatever the number, not 160, 150, whatever the number was. Look, really what it comes down to, I think the takedown defense and the speed are going to be too much. And you think the funk, bring the funk is going to win. And honestly, when jokes aside, funk wins a hell of a lot more in the UFC than you might realize. Goofiness and awkwardness, guys have made their careers on the funk. I just don't think the funk is going to be enough on Saturday night.
Play that fucking music, baby. You're so wrong.
It's our first music on PTL of all time. We've been doing this for 3 years. Never had music before. Tell you what, chug shot bet.
Book it.
Done. All right, chug or shot bet. For the 15 of you still with us, you pick a side, you do one with us, tag us in Twitter. I don't have Instagram, so tag Joe on Instagram. I don't think we have a PTL on Instagram. I don't know. Send me an email. Send me a letter or a fax with a link to you chugging if you win or if you lose. Otherwise, send me one with you flipping me off if you win. Yan is going to make Joe drunk. Let's do it. Oh, at my birthday is when we'll do it, by the way. At my birthday is where the payout is. All right, next fight. Oh, those odds are different than I thought. I could have sworn Sean Woodson was near Pick'em at one point. Opened near Pick'em. He's down to 165 now against 50K. 50K Dan Ige coming in at a plus 150. Probably the biggest badass moment of all time is stepping in on 6 hours notice.
Yeah,
it's either that or Max pointing at the canvas. It's one of those two. I think biggest balls is Dan Ige. I think biggest moment, I think, is Max. Depends on how you want to quantify. But big balls coming in at plus money here versus the human tarantula.
There's a few fighters in the UFC where I'm like, I gotta stop going against this person because they just irritate me so much, but they just keep winning. And Sean Woodson is the poster child of that. I'm not a fan. I'm really not a fan of how he fights. He does extremely well and maximizes his biggest asset, which is his frame. He's really good at up the middle kicks, maintaining distance, end of punch. It's really hard to get in on him. And fighting a non-wrestler, this style of fight really favors Woodson, which I'm not surprised by these odds whatsoever. But man, I'm not a fan of Woodson, and I'm a big Ige fan. He just finds ways to make close fights against guys and in opportunities where he should not be close. I mean, Diego Lopez is, I think, a good example. There's other fights out there. Lerone Murphy. I mean, Lerone Murphy just looked great last weekend. but he typically does lose those. He looks great, but he doesn't get the victory, doesn't get the hand raised. I'm a little not knowing where to go on this one. I'm very curious where you're going, if you have a read on it, because I don't really have a really sharp angle on this one.
No, this is what I wanted to talk through because my heart is with Dan Ige. He's going to be forever on my top 25 favorite fighter list. Where you crack the top 15 time to time when guys piss me off and I put Ige in. It's kind of like the rankings. Somebody fucks up, Ige comes into 15, then he goes back outside. He's the Neil Magny of the division. I wanted to talk this one through because my gut is telling me to just stay away because it really, I don't know if Ige can get inside of Sean Woodson. Ige, I would not say is overly skilled at feints or footwork. He's not someone who's really technically fluid. He's a brute, a technical, strong, skilled, masterful brute. But Woodson also hasn't fought a guy trying to get inside. He fought a split to Charles Jourdain, which I think he lost, and Jourdain is going to be a range striker. Then he fought a unanimous decision over Alex Caceres, a range striker. And then he knocked out Fernando Padilla, who sucks ass, and is a range striker. He has not fought anyone since Yusuf Zalal. This is pre-Yusuf Zalal getting cut, which is a whole different person that is willing to kind of get in the pocket. So I don't know if Woodson is skilled at keeping guys at his range or if he's just been fighting guys who are comfortable accepting the range. I don't know. His tendencies, exactly the strikes that you named, the front kick primarily, is how you do it. He's doing the right things to keep guys at range, but I haven't seen someone try to counter that because no one he's fought is willing or even their style isn't to get in the pocket. So one, what happens once they're there? I don't know because it doesn't really happen very often. And two, how hard is it to get around them? Some guys you can't get inside that front push kick. Some guys you can. And the bottom line is I don't know. And that's why I want to stay away just because there isn't enough known data to confidently take one side or the other.
Yeah, and hearing you talk through that, I'm glad you went like fight by fight. I was thinking through the Dan Ige side. I'm like, he has clearly the grit to get through that initial sort of defense. And I really liked it. Like, I'm not sure Eric Nixon's going to be in the corner, but he trains at Extreme Couture. And I got to think Eric Nixon's going to be in the corner, the head coach of Extreme Couture, the guy that coaches Sean Strickland. I love him as a head coach. I really think he's good at game planning and preparing his fighters to negate what the opposition does extremely well. In the case of this one, it's Sean Woodson's length. At Extreme Couture, there's a plethora of guys to handpick to prepare for this fight. I got to think Dan Ige is working with 6'2" guys, high in the division. He has the toughness. He has the grit. He has the power to make Woodson uncomfortable. I think if he can make Woodson uncomfortable, Ige can put him on his back foot and really get this thing done. Unsurprisingly, I've talked myself into Ige. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I convinced myself, and it's not the typical, this is a immediate angle I'm seeing. But I have convinced myself that I will be betting Ige. And I'm really starting to think if these odds get to 150, 160 Ige, I think it should go on our official bet slip. I think the value is pretty strong in his favor.
Yeah, it's gonna take some more thought for me to get there because there's just so many other fights that I really like. Even Cornhole, I like betting against her. I got to keep calling her Cornhole; it makes me giggle. There's just for me, it's not going to crack that. And even if we don't limit ourselves to 5, it's a tier below my other favorite plays. So it's going to take a while to get me there. Now, make no mistake about it. I'm going to be drunk on Saturday. I'm going to have access to a bookie. Of course, I'm going to be betting Dan Ige. That's going to happen. Not that I advise you. Do as I say, not as I do kind of a thing here. Don't drink tequila on a Wednesday night when you're waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym in the morning. That's a terrible idea.
I had 2 workouts today.
Wow. Okay. Well, fuck me then. All right. Next fight. We have
a walking workout. Keep that in mind.
Would you walk to a taco truck? That's not a workout.
It is if you go far enough.
All right. Next fight, we have Nikita Krylov. That was a terrible accent. I need to be drinking vodka if I want to do that one accent. Anyways, Nikita Krylov at a -175 only. That's interesting. Against Joe's Boothang, probably the one person in the world who actually is upset that you're engaged. Dominic Cruz at a +150. I think this is your man crush since day one.
It is. He beat John Jones. Can we just acknowledge it? And I think Thiago Santos beat John Jones or very close. If he tore his ACL or something like that in round 1. But Reyes definitely did it. That's one of the worst. Whatever. Okay. I hate this fight because these are hands down my two favorite light heavyweights.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. Nikita Krylov is legit. Every time you see him in the octagon, it's like, holy crap, is he way more athletic than you realize? And he has an extremely well-versed arsenal at his disposal. And unlike a lot of people like Yan Jinan, Nikita Krylov understands what tool to use at what moment of the fight. That's his probably a really underrated trait of his. I think the most underrated is his athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting Dominic Reyes, who was on the struggle bus. He lost a lot of money. But boys, he's starting to creep in and starting to make me a lot of money. He's looked really good. I mean, he's a really talented, athletic guy. He's a good wrestler, and I like his striking. It's like when if you have two kids fighting, I don't know which one to really root for because I really don't know which one to root for. I think there is value on Reyes. I'm surprised the odds aren't a little closer. Because Krylov hasn't fought since 2022. I think he had a fight in the Ukraine-Russia war. I don't think he's had I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it's ever since that he hasn't fought. But I really don't know where to go. I think it's a pass because these guys are really two very high-level guys, and either one on their best day can win this fight. That's kind of the reason why it's a pass.
That's a very interesting and well-stated argument. I got two questions for you before I get into my breakdown. Number one, have you looked at Nikita Krylov's age?
Oh, I know. What is he, like 30, 29, 30?
He's 33 now. He was 31 in his last fight. This motherfucker looks 64.
I know he does.
He's looked 64 since the day he was born. He came out, he looked older than his doctor. I mean, this guy, but that goes to your credit of his athleticism is underrated because he looks old and war-torn and weathered. But when you got a 29-year-old, for the most part, kid, I mean, you can be more athletic than guys realize. And I think that's part of the mental obstacle for some handicappers. Now, 33 is not young anymore, but you get the point. Number two, I was going to ask Dad a question. Shout out to Dad. I was going to say leave a comment and who would win in the fight between you and me. But I don't think Dad knows how to work YouTube comments. He's going to pick you now that I said that. I really think my pick. I have Krylov as one of my parlay possibilities with earlier in the card for a couple of reasons here. Dom Reyes, even at his best, he fights very slowly. He fights methodically. He fights at range. He fights like many 205ers on the outside of the cage, wants to pick people apart with big power. Nikita Krylov, he's got a fucking chin on him. So I don't think that Reyes is going to find the knockout. Although it's 205 and Reyes is powerful, anything's possible, but tendencies tell me it's not going to be there. Number two, I love Krylov's volume. I think Krylov will double up Reyes on the significant strikes landed, assuming this goes the distance. And number three, while I don't think Krylov can get Reyes down consistently, I do think he can tie him up on the cage. I don't see a realistic path for Reyes to win, although I do think skill for skill, they're very similar, very close. But stylistically, if Krylov's going to double up the volume, if Krylov's going to win the clinch wrestling minutes, and Krylov's going to be the one moving forward, the real only way I see Reyes winning is by a knockout, unlikely, or by getting enough damage shots, kind of Cheeto Vera at his height, versus that can overtake the volume. And for me, that's just not a reliable enough play. I get not wanting to parlay Krylov, completely get that. Truly. I'm parlaying him just because I get plus money on the parlay because he's a minus 170. But for anyone betting this, the number's coming down. I wouldn't mind waiting a little bit if we get 170 or maybe even 165. It's just a one-unit play. It's only a one-unit parlay. I'm not going big. But I do think Krylov gets the decision win here on the back of volume, pressure, and overall versatility in the cage.
Yeah, I think the risk is too great for the ones. I think I like to try to think back of what's a 170 in relation to other fights, other sports. I like a lot of other things at that price more than this. So this is probably the number one pass for me.
That's fair. All right, next fight. I think I got a hot take here for the next fight. Let's hear Yair Rodriguez at a minus 200 against Patricio Pitbull at a plus 165. Here's my hot take. Yair Rodriguez is one of the most electrifying, dynamic video game, can't miss watch TV fighters in the UFC. Pitbull is an icon coming over into the UFC. This is a bigger signing than Michael Chandler or close, if not identical, bigger, whatever the case might be. Personality icon. My hot take, this fight is going to severely underwhelm. I am anticipating a significant disappointment. I think Pitbull is either going to get a very boring wrestle-focused decision, or Yair is going to take his time and pot shot a win with a couple of spin kicks mixed in here and there.
Well, man, that's fine. I mean, this is I love Yair here. I think he's going to stick and move. I think it's a great spot for him. I think Pitbull he's not anything that Yair hasn't dealt with in the past. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to present really unsurprising challenges for Yair. And Yair, for guys that have fought in the UFC for years, I mean, when Volk was fighting Yair for the belt, I mean, Yair was he's as dangerous and unique of a unicorn as you could possibly fight. So it's a very interesting first fight for Pitbull. I really like Yair here. I like him with Olin Jacek as a parlay. Prime example, I'd much rather pay additional 30 cents on Yair compared to Krylov at 170. I think he's just got the striking advantage, and I'm not seeing Pitbull effectively grapple to where there'd be a significant, he's winning the round because of his grappling. He might get him down, but I think Yair can get up from Pitbull's quality of wrestling. I like Yair.
Yeah, statistically speaking, dynamic striker who has improved his takedown defense versus an aging wrestler with fine top game and a questionable chin, you go Yair every day of the week. I personally did not put him in a parlay just because Yair is a little bit goofy and unreliable at times, and I don't typically like betting on or against fighters coming over from other promotions in their debut. I just don't have enough UFC-level talent that they fought for me to get a true read. So I have no problem putting Yair in a parlay for other people. Personally, I won't be doing it just because of the particular fighters, not necessarily their skill set or the matchup. But yeah, my pick is Yair, probably by decision. I think Pitbull's gritty enough in his UFC debut to bite the mouthpiece down and survive 15 minutes, even though the chin is starting to erode at 37 years old. All right, next fight. Talk about a fun one. Oh, my goodness. All right, so we got Mr. Fighting Nerd. He has taken Kyle Barhalo's tag, his title, the guy that we thought Fighting Nerd's next champion was going to be, and Gene Silva said, I'll take that. I'm Yoel Romero's illegitimate child, and I just murder every fucking person that steps into the cage with me. Coming in at a minus 250 against, and I don't think I'm out of line for saying this, this is not the tequila, the Nazi apologist at a plus 210, Bryce Mitchell, who has not quite doubled down on his comments, but he sure as hell hasn't surrendered to keep the blackjack metaphor going.
No, I will say though, I mean, like when Sean Strickland thinks it's a little crazy, you know it's fucking crazy. But what I do like what Sean Strickland said, he's like, if you're gonna say something outlandish as that, you might as well stick to your guns. But when Sean Strickland thinks you're a little kook for Cocoa Puffs, that's pretty telling. I mean, he thinks the Earth is flat. I mean, he thinks Gene Silva was like barking in the at the press conference last pay-per-view, and Bryce Mitchell said he's possessed. I mean, it's crazy. From a stylistic matchup, although Mitchell's got really unique wrestling, it's good wrestling. It's not elite wrestling. He's elite submissions. It's really not a good stylistic matchup fighting Gene Silva, who you definitely don't want to stand against Gene Silva. You want to try to get him to the mat. I just think that this is Josh Emmett 2.0 when Bryce Mitchell almost got killed. I mean, I really think it's Josh Emmett 2.0. I'm surprised. I think the odds have came down like considerably. And I think that's because traditionally on paper, you have a wrestler versus a striker. I mean, if you really want to just break it down into those two buckets, and you want to tend to favor the wrestler in that style of fight. I just don't think he's going to be able to get Gene Silva down. I mean, the fighting nerds, how can you go against the fighting nerds? Let's say Gene Silva was fighting Max Holloway. I mean, I would take Max in that fight, but I would not want to go against the fighting nerds right now. What are they, 16-0? Something out crazy like that. It's Josh Emmett 2.0. I mean, that's really all you got to say. I think Gene Silva by KO is the play.
He's my parlay piece. Him with Olin Jacek. That's what I'm looking for here. So I'm trying to figure out exactly the stat on it, and I can't pull it up. There it is. So the reason the odds are coming down is because every Twitter pundit, YouTube dipshit is citing the same exact fight. Charles Jourdain landed 3 of 7 takedowns on Gene Silva a year and a half ago. That's why everyone's is betting Bryce Mitchell. You're getting 2-1 on your money on a great wrestler and grappler, and Charles Jourdain, who's very average, was able to get him down 3 out of 7 times. That's all very true. Absolutely true. Doesn't fucking matter. Here's a few reasons why. 1, fighting nerds. You said it. When a team is hot, you keep betting the team. Team elevation back in COVID. Charles Oliveira's team back in like 2022. Fighting nerds on a fucking heater, and Gene Silva is their guy. Number 2, if you don't like the trends of teams getting hot, Team Alpha Male had one with Uriah Faber there for a little while too.
When with Sean Strickland.
Yeah, Sean Strickland with Eric Nixon had it happens. Gyms get hot. Number 2 is Josh Emmett, and you touched on that already here. Look, Bryce Mitchell might have the most viciously received knockout in UFC history. There was a legitimate thought that crossed my head that he might have died in the cage. And that's not just me. That's not hyperbole. That's not me doing this for clicks or laughs. If you haven't seen the knockout, he looked like he might have died. And he didn't have a whole lot of brain cells to sacrifice to begin with. So we're chastising Volk for coming off of a knockout loss in the main event. We're using that as a piece of the handicap. Yet for Bryce Mitchell's knockout loss, which was devastating, people are willing to write that off as that's fine. And you're fighting probably the guy with the most power in the division outside of maybe Emmett. And you're willing to just say, "Oh, fuck it." That's terrible handicapping. Number 3, Fighting Nerds comes out of Brazil, and Fighting Nerds fighters have unused, untested, and unproven, but traditionally very good defensive grappling and jiu-jitsu. Kyle Borralho, Marcio Ruffi, Gene Silva typically don't need it because they are so good on the feet. Carlos Pratas. This is a Brazilian gym. You don't think that they got some jiu-jitsu? They don't think they got some submission defense, some get-up abilities, some takedown? Of course they do. Fourthly, overall physicality. Bryce Mitchell, you said, is not a great wrestler. He's a very good grappler. He typically grinds guys down. He kind of pulls them down to the mat, which is a physical way of using takedowns. He's farm strong. That's a real thing. If you don't know that's a real thing, go to your rural community, shake a farmer's hand, tell me how much your knuckles hurt. That's a thing. He's not going to be stronger than Gene Silva, so I don't think his takedowns are going to work. And then lastly, above all else, this motherfucker is crazy. You don't bet against crazy. He is fucking insane in the best of ways. Sean Strickland rode insanity to a UFC championship behind a jab and a front kick. Insanity in a fight is a good thing. Think of it, this is a fight. This is a fist fight, and you have a man who is clinically insane. Well, I love Gene Silva here. He's my parlay anchor of the week. Anything else you like, you put it with Silva.
I will say, of the two who's clinically insane, it might be Bryce Mitchell for different reasons. Also, with it, you have Gene Silva 145, Ruffi at 155, Carlos Pratas at 170. What are they taking over down in Brazil? I'll be honest.
Borralho 185.
But he's not really the strike. I mean, I'm talking about those three. I mean, Borralho's got some end of punch power. Now, he will be the first Fighting Nerds to lose if he fights Robert Whittaker, but we'll get to that eventually. But those three, what you got to question. What are they taking? I don't really care. They can take whatever the hell they want to take if I'm betting on them. I agree with you. I mean, it's a pretty good price. I mean, he should not have been over the 500 mark, which I could have sworn I saw him at when it first opened. But it's Gene Silva, and I like him by KO. But if you want to put him with the parlay, I don't mind that either.
He opened at 330. I personally capped him at 300. So 250.
Yeah,
fuck it. I got half of mine because I love him so much to just play him straight.
Yeah,
6 for 3. I really, really, really do. I don't want to mess with the parlay. I'm thinking of putting my dick on the table here for Gene Silva. And if at the end of the day he loses, which I really don't think is going to happen, you bet on the hottest fighter in the UFC. I'm not talking Mackenzie Dern. I'm talking like on a heater here. on against a guy with a shaky chin coming off a devastating knockout loss. I mean, it's a smart bet outside of the particularities of it here. I might advocate for a 6-for-3 dick on the table type of play on Gene Silva here. All right, next fight. I'm very curious how you see this one going, because prior to the Bobby Green fight, we both agreed that Paddy's nearing his ceiling, especially in the striking department, but his grappling is a little bit underrated. And then we bet Paddy against Bobby Green, and sure enough, he goes out and he triangles Bobby Green in a very, very impressive way. I know people sometimes like to know the maturity of some of these very impulsive fighters. Paddy looks more measured and mature. He's got twins now. I don't know if being a dad made him grow up or what the case might be. He's not blowing up 200 plus pounds as much anymore. He seems to be taking this a little bit more seriously. But a fighter taking their career seriously sometimes has adverse effects. Tai Tuivasa kind of got a little tentative. He got hot when he was training, and then he kind of stopped being the swang and bang dude that he was. Paddy looked a little bit tentative on the feet. He really seemed to overemphasize in the Bobby Green fight, tucking his chin. He seemed to overemphasize exiting the pocket. He seemed to really kind of be working on things while striking in the cage. And that's not what you want to be doing against Mr. Explosive Michael Chandler. For as flawed as Chandler is, his explosiveness is second to none. And if you are thinking while he is fighting, you're going to be 2 steps behind.
Yeah, and this one, I mean, I can see there's 2 avenues that I can see. One is Paddy's really good at taking the back. I mean, he's one of the best guys in the UFC at taking someone's back. I mean, he can do it from a multitude of positions. And I could see this thing where, I mean, yeah, Michael Chandler went 5 rounds against Alvarez last time, and I could see Paddy getting a round 1 submission and being like, wow, this is who I am. I do believe if he gets a victory here, it is the ceiling. He will not beat an Arman Tsarukyan. He will not beat a Charles Oliveira. He will not beat an Ilzan Makhachev. Probably won't even beat a Gamrot. Just from a style standpoint.
That's the fight that would be very interesting.
But he won't get that. He'll get someone better than that. But I remember hearing Chandler when the fight first got announced. He's like, look, I'm just going to run through this guy. And I've heard we heard Josh Emmett going against Roman Murphy. Oh, you've never seen me before. I hear that you hear that stuff all the time. Or oh, there's levels to this game. You're not going to. We hear that. But Chandler just simply said, like, and I believed him. It's like, I'm just going to just run through this guy. It's going to be easy. This is either Paddy Pimblett is Ian Gary 2.0, where he's a lot better than what the entire MMA community thought. We thought Ian Gary we can't wait till fade. We can't wait to fade him. Ian Gary we went from Irish to Brazilian. I think that's the reason. Pimblett's still training where he's training. Now he's got the cornrows now. That could be something similar. But at the end of the day, the fact that I'm getting plus money on Chandler, I'm not going to get cute with KO, whatever. Plus money on Chandler, I think it's a simple 1.5 unit play on him. If Pimblett gets the back early, you know what? Tip my cap to the guy. But Chandler's explosiveness, his striking ability, his wrestling ability, the fact that he's been in there with the best guys, Poirier, Oliveira twice, that really can't go understated here. The experience, the explosive athlete, I like Chandler here.
I have one small breakdown for actual handicap and 2 narratives. So the small breakdown from handicap is I think that Paddy's very hittable on the feet. He's got a giant head. He carries his chin a little bit high, and he's slow to react to fast and explosive strikes. And Michael Chandler's fast and fucking explosive. Chandler is also an elite wrestler, just like Gaethje, never uses it, but it's there. So I think that Paddy, to get the back, is going to have to wall walk the cage from a clinch position, which is going to be difficult to implement at this level. That's not something you typically see in the top 5 or the top 10 of a good division. So I don't think Paddy's primary path to victory, taking the back, is going to be easily accessible. He's good enough to get it. Don't get me wrong. He's good enough to get it. I don't think it's going to be something that's just there. So I love Chandler from a matchup standpoint here. I thought that Chandler should have been a slight favorite, 130 or 140. So I do see value on Chandler, nothing excessive. 1 to 1.5 units, completely fine with. The 2 narrative things that I think go one in favor and one against Chandler. One against Chandler is he, like Kevin Holland, is here for the paycheck and the promotion. He wants to make the biggest fight possible and cash the biggest check. and he's not overly concerned with winning or losing. But he is a competitor. He is a professional. I know you're going to hear that in other YouTube channels. He doesn't care about winning. He just wants to cash the check. I don't really put a whole lot of grain of salt into that because if you lose enough, the checks get smaller. You have to start winning. Kevin Holland, write that down. But the bigger narrative thing here is that I think the UFC knows something. This is one of the biggest fights they could have made that isn't a title fight or a top contender fight. And we just had UFC London a few weeks ago, months ago, or whatever it was. And Molly fought on that card. Patty and Molly fight together. They didn't put this on the card. And I don't know if one guy wasn't ready. Chandler didn't want to travel. Maybe the UFC sees something that we don't see. They didn't want their British golden child losing in the UK. Again, narrative. Absolutely narrative, but it did cross my mind.
And the reason being is because the UFC owes Michael Chandler. It was supposed to be him versus McGregor, 2 years of back and forth. So Chandler's getting this thing on his home turf. That's one of the things they owe him. And I really do believe Chandler, they're like, hey, you can get your pick of the litter, who you want. Chandler sits down, I want the biggest name with the least amount of risk. I think he handpicked Patty Pillman. That's a narrative that I was going off of. The UFC, I mean, it's not, I don't think they even would deny that they owe Michael Chandler a lot. I mean, because of what happened with McGregor. I think he got his fight in his hometown against an opponent that he chose, which is the biggest name with the least amount of risk. I think the odds, I think it's at 80 cents off. That's a pretty big disparity in odds. I think Chandler should be a 150, a 160. So that's why I do like a 1.5 unit play on him. Nothing too crazy because I can totally see a slick submission. But I think you're getting immense value on Chandler.
All right, fantastic. Last fight, I'm going to simply say the odds and let you go. Joe's favorite fighter in the entire UFC at a -120, Alexander the Great Volkanovski against the hot up-and-comer Diego Lopez at a +105. Take it away.
This is one of those things, if you have points in time in your life, if you go back and just tell your younger self, don't do that, or tell your nephew, don't do this. Volk, don't take that fight against Islam, that second fight when you're clearly out of shape. That head kick really set him back. I mean, not that Topuria wouldn't have done what he did, but that was such an immense factor. The style of fight where he only kicked. He did not want to enter punching range because he was afraid of the power. I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't for the head kick. Gotta get that off my chest. This fight, my heart, I'm the biggest Volk guy. I root for him hard. When he fought Islam Makhachev, I didn't know who to root for, but part of me was rooting for Volk. We said before this video, when we first started really betting the UFC, we made a lot of money because we didn't have that natural affinity for the older guard, the Chuck Liddells, the Tito Ortiz, not anyone had a favor for him, the Anderson Silvas. We were perfectly content looking at it from an objective lens. You got the younger guy, the guy that's equally as well-rounded, and the guy that's in his prime, contrary to a guy that looks like he's clearly out of his prime. If Volk is in his prime, this is a tough fight. I don't love the narrative of if Volk was in his prime, he'd run through Diego Lopez. That's incorrect. But if Volk was in his prime, I certainly would expect him to get the victory here. I'm not sure he is in his prime. I do like how he's taken a full year off. I think he's going to be much closer to 100% contrary to what he was against Topuria. But Diego Lopez is young, big, tough, physical. He's a guy that's on his own little bit of a heater. He's in his little world where, man, is he good. Ever since that Evloev short notice almost got the victory fight, he's just been on a tear. I'm not going against Alexander Volkanovski because I do think he can put a pace and pressure on there. He knows how to win rounds, similar to what Max Holloway did against Arnold Allen. Knows how to win that final minute of the round. Knows how to maximize his talent against his opposition. And I think he will have zero qualms to wrestle Diego Lopez comparatively to when Diego Lopez does fight other guys. They're worried about his jiu-jitsu. I don't think Volk's worried about that one iota. So if Lopez cannot catch Volk on the feet, I don't see a significant avenue for him to win. With all that said, it's not a big unit play for me whatsoever because I understand Lopez is elite. He is belt worthy, and it's disappointing we didn't see Lopez versus Topuria because that fight would be very interesting.
So I want to talk about how each guy can win this fight. Volk's going to win this fight on the back of exactly what you said, knowing how to win rounds, effectively wrestling at the effective time, striking at the right time. His feints are going to be effective against the kid, and I do say kid on purpose, who's going to be hyped up and overly aggressive. Volk's feints, we've talked about it for years. He will feint a feint in order to land a strike. He is elite on the feet, and he's training with Teofimo Lopez too, one of the high-level boxers, just to get a couple. I mean, his hands are underrated is an understatement. So I think that Volk wins the fight basically on I've seen this before and I know what to do with this. On top of pressure, cardio, I think the leg kicks are going to be there. And I think that Lopez could be over aggressive and be chasing and hitting a lot of air throughout the rounds. I also like that you mentioned Volk's wrestling. Look, Ortega had that mounted guillotine in my favorite fight of all time because Joe and I had just one of the best times ever watching that fight. And Volk was he survived it. His head turned a different color of purple that I don't think exists on the normal spectrum of the prism, but he survived it. And Lopez's submission game is not to Ortega's level. So I really think that Volk can wrestle if and when it's needed. I do not buy into the conversation of Lopez is going to win one or two or Volk's going to win a decision. I think this fight's going to go probably the distance and be razor fucking thin. I think this is Figgy Moreno. I think this is Cheeto versus anybody. So Volk wins on the back of volume, pressure, and intelligent and experience, doing the right thing at the right time to win the round. I think Lopez wins this fight. He's going to have the bigger moments. He's going to have the more explosive and powerful moments. For Lopez to win, he's got to mix those big moments in along with a minute or two per round of volume. He's got to match Volk for volume for 90 seconds around and then have two or three bigger moments. And I think it's very possible. If the kid can calm down and fight with a little bit of a level head and then every once in a while explode into something big and the volume is close, I think Lopez will have the bigger moments. So I think this is a very, very close fight. I think it'll come on the back of a Volk probably gets 30 to 40 more significant strikes landed. I think Lopez probably cracks Volk a little bit cleaner here or there. And I think the wrestling and grappling will probably be nullified. How you score that, I don't know. So for me, it's a pass, and I'm not passing because it's a main event. I'm not passing because it's a pick'em fight. I love main events. I love pick'em fights. I just stylistically think they fight 10 times. I think Volk wins 5.5, which is about a -120, maybe 6-ish. Gun to my head, I'm going to pick Volk. I lean on the side of experience. I lean on the guy who knows how to win rounds. And above all else, I lean on the guy who I know has 5 rounds of cardio. The only unknown in this is Lopez going 25 minutes. That's the only unknown. So I'm going to go Volk because of that. But I don't like it, and I'm not going to bet it personally. I'm going to sit back, watch it, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Teofimo Lopez because I was going to bring up, I was watching some YouTube videos like a month or so ago on Volk's training camp, and he went to Thailand, sort of like this like mini training camp before he knew who he was fighting, and he had Aljamain Sterling train with him as to really prepare for that grappling. I mean, he prepared with his Craig Jones is a consistent grappling training partner of his. I mean, ever since people reference that Ortega fight, and people might think, oh, Lopez can get him in a similar position. He fought Islam twice post that fight, and he looked incredible in the grappling department. He laced up his wrestling shoes and he leveled up. Worked with Craig Jones constantly. Aljamain Sterling is a great archetype for Diego Lopez in the grappling department. I think that's a very good avenue of attack for Volk. I think that's one that he's going to implement. I think it's going to be a late kick, grappling, heavy fight. It could be a check left hook for Diego Lopez. Lights out. I think Volk will get this thing done by decision. I like him by decision if you're getting plus 150 or better. I do like that because Lopez is one tough SOB. I mean, he's going to be a really hard out. And I think Lopez has a much greater chance of finishing Volk because, look, Volk is 36 years old. He's coming off 2 knockout losses. Plus 200?
Plus 200.
That's what I'm playing. I'll probably do a 1.5 unit on Volk by decision. Lopez has the power to get this thing done, and if that's the case, Volk's probably done. But if Volk's not done and he has a chin, he has a lot of avenues to get this thing done. My heart's rooting for Volk. I understand there's more at risk than just what might look like on paper. So it's Volk by decision plus 200, 1 unit play to win 2.
Yeah, if I had to bet it, that's where I'd go to. But I'm going to pass for PTL. At that point in the night, I'll be so far in the bag, I'll be putting multiple units on Volk by decision because fuck it, why not? What's money? Money doesn't fucking matter. I'm a teacher. I'm rolling in the dough. I'm just over. I got 3 Lambos in the garage, and it's 2-car garage. I stack them on top of each other because I don't care about them. But back to our best bets here. We got Cowan by decision. Wow, who would have thought that the first fight of the night would have made the best bet slip? But honestly, it's there. By decision at plus 200, 1 for 2. We got a kind of a ladder play in the Tulio and Gore fight. Tulio over and Gore over 1.5, 1.3 for 1 and a minus 130. We also have Tulio and Gore fight goes the distance at about a plus 200 or plus 250, 1 unit to win, whatever you got that coming on the other side there. Our last straight play is Michael Chandler, whatever it takes to win 2, 1.4, 1.6, depending kind of on whatever book number you get. And then we have Gene Silva and Michael Olin-Jacek in a parlay. There's still an outside shot here. Joe and I talk, and I say 6 for 3, and we agree on Gene Silva. And Olin-Jacek goes in a parlay with maybe Yair instead. We'll talk here. We'll see how big we want to get on Gene Silva. Look, it's not Charles Jourdain. It's not, people. Turn off the YouTubes for anybody else who's saying Charles Jourdain this, Charles Jourdain that. Look, me and Air Jourdain, we can grab a maple-flavored beer together. You're one of my guys, but this is not what we're looking at.
Also, Gene Silva won by KO in that fight. Like for people that
yes, thank you.
Yeah, he got wrestled, but he also showed that he can maintain power in his legs to get a KO. Like, what are we doing
about that?
Yeah, what are we doing here? And what about Ige? What about Dan Ige?
I say it's either Ige or Volk by decision for the last guy in the slip. Follow us on PTL on X. Follow us at PTL on betmma.tips. We post all of our picks. We post all of our plays. We've been a little MMA on the Twitter sphere lately, or the X sphere, whatever you want to call it, because, again, I've been busy with life. But we'll be back on. We'll be drinking. We'll be tweeting. So follow us on all the socials at Pound the Lines. You'll get our official plays. Maybe Ige, maybe Volk decision, maybe both. Who the fuck knows? But those other 5 are definitely making the slip.
I like it.
All right. Well, Pound Lines, cash tickets, Crush beer. I added a third one just for $3.14.
You will be sure in trouble.
It's going to be Yan Jan Yan, and you're going to be crying and shitting yourself at the same time.